What's up, guys? I'm Ryan Engler alongside Sam Aleinikoff and Jake Mastbaum, and we're in Jacksonville, Florida for the NCAA Tournament. This is SlopeTV's preview of the matchup between the 5th-seeded Temple Owls and the 12th-seeded Cornell Big Red. You know, these are two teams that have a lot of familiarity. They have had 7 common opponents this year. Steve Donahue, former assistant for Fran Dunphy, has faced him 12 times, never beaten him. A lot of things to consider in this game, and with that, we're going to go right into our breakdown of the game on Friday. One thing that everybody's been talking about with this matchup has been the perimeter game. You know, Cornell, top 3-point shooting team in the country, and we have Temple, who's one of the absolute best perimeter defensive teams. With that, what are we going to see tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great point. People have been talking about that pretty much since this matchup came out on Selection Sunday. And you mentioned Cornell, the top 3-point shooting team in the country. They shoot better than 43%. And what I want to talk about is that they have 5 guys that shoot over 40%. They have 4 starters that can shoot the 3 in Lewis Dale, Chris Robleski, of course, Ryan Whitman, and John Jakes. Can really stretch the floor in almost every position, really, except the center position. So the question is, how are they going to guard that? Temple's known to guard the 3. And in the press conference today, Fran Dunphy really, when asked how they do it so well, he just really pinpointed it to the fact that he emphasizes it so much in practice. That's more of a point of emphasis than really something special that he does. But in the past, Cornell has done well against teams that really can defend the 3. I'm going back to the Syracuse game there. Syracuse known for that great Jim Boeheim zone, and Cornell really just shot over it. Robleski hit 6 threes in the game against Syracuse this year, and last year Whitman torched them for 33 points. Exactly. That's what I'm looking at. I think if Cornell could really knock down 3s, they got a really good shot to advance.
It's interesting. Syracuse went with the zone. Obviously, Temple might mix and match the zone and the man-to-man. I think when you look at the 4 position, that's really going to be the key. You've got John Jakes, who's going to be shooting the 3 at the 4 position for Cornell, and then when you go on the other side, it's who's going to defend the 4. Is it going to be Michael Eric, who comes out at 6'11", really long guy, might not be quick enough though, or is it going to be Lavoy Allen, who's also more of an interior player? So when you spread the floor with all those different guys, especially at the 4 position, it's going to get tough for Temple to get out there. And one thing that Temple's done when they haven't been able to defend the 3 is they've lost. I mean, they've only given up better than 40% shooting from beyond the arc twice this year. Both those times they fell. I mean, granted, it was to the top team in the country in Kansas. They lost that game by 32, but then again to Richmond in league play. So it's going to be interesting to see if Cornell can shoot the 3s, because if they do, it's likely that they're going to come away as a winner.
Yeah, obviously Cornell, a great 3-point shooting team. They made 23-pointers in a game in their final Ivy League weekend, so that's undoubtedly going to be one of the most important factors in this game. But another thing that I think that we should take a look at is, you know, if the tempo of this game is slowed down, which it might, and even if it isn't, we're going to really be looking at a fascinating interior matchup on the post. Jeff Foote, you know, the 7-foot center for Cornell, one of the better big men in this tournament. Temple's got some good defensive bigs also in Lavoy Allen and in Michael Eric, the 6'11" big man for Temple. You know, I think that's going to be pretty important for Temple to contain Foote. What do you see going on there?
Well, I had a chance to speak with Kevin Tatum of the Philadelphia Inquirer, a guy who's been around the Owls all season, and one thing he said is it's going to be interesting to see, just like who matches up on the 4, who matches up on the 5, because Michael Eric with his length is probably the better matchup in terms of size at 6'11", but in terms of a solid defender, Lavoy Allen might be the best defender they have. Fran Dunphy earlier on today said he's one of the best defenders he's ever had and he's ever coached.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Talking with Clark Kellogg of CBS today, he was telling me that he thinks Lavoy Allen is one of the most underrated players in this tournament, and he really is a guy that could match up with Jeff Foote. The issue that I think Temple's going to have defensively with Foote, and we talked about it a little bit already when we were talking about the 3-point threat that Cornell has, is that they spread the floor with 4 guys, and that really does not give Temple the option to double team them. Talking to Fran Dunphy today, he was saying about how he hates the fact that Jeff Foote is such a good passer because he can't double team him, because Jeff Foote will just pass out of it, which is what we've seen all season. If Temple could find a way to contain the big man, Jeff Foote is going to be the biggest guy on the floor tomorrow. Temple's going to have a good shot to, you know, win this game. They're going to be favorite, but they could really limit Cornell's runs there. But if they can't, just another opportunity for the Big Red to really just slip in there.
Right, because I mean, if you have to double team Foote, then somebody's going to be open on the perimeter, and then you have the whole 3-point dilemma too. So
an open three for anybody
on the team for sure. Obviously, if Temple can get Jeff Foote into foul trouble, that's going to be huge for them. Another very important part of any NCAA tournament and any tournament run is guards, especially senior guards. Senior guard play. Lewisdale, point guard for this Big Red team, one of the best players, first team All-Ivy player. The point guard on this team has struggled mightily in his two previous stays in the NCAA tournament over these past 2 years. I think this is going to be a very important player for Cornell in this game. What do you expect to see from Lewis, and how important is Dale for the Big Red?
Yeah, absolutely. Lewis is definitely going to have to play a major factor if Cornell wants to pull the upset and be one of those 12 teams that dances over a 5-team tomorrow in Jacksonville. And what I want to talk about is the season that Lewisdale had was really overshadowed by that of Ryan Whitman, by Jeff Foote, by all the storylines around Cornell, and maybe by his slow start in non-conference play. If you just look at the 14-game Ivy League schedule and look at Lewisdale's numbers, they were better than his numbers the year when he won Ivy League Player of the Year. Lewisdale had a great end of the year, 3 straight years, first team All-Ivy, and you know what? You mentioned he struggled in big games, in the tournament games, maybe some other big non-conference game in years past. I think he's up for the challenge this year, his senior season. I think Lewisdale is going to get it done for Cornell.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the reason, along with his scoring, which has been great down the stretch, is his passing. Donahue said it when we had a chance to talk to him after their final regular season game at Yale. In that last weekend, 13 assists, 0 turnovers. That's the key. He's a senior leader who can distribute the ball. He gets in the lane, and because he's such a threat to score the ball when he's around the hoop, he can kick out to the open shooters. And I mean, the Cornell shooters are going to help you out if you find an open shooter on this Big Red squad. So I think just as much as that scoring will be important, as a senior point guard, obviously the assists are going to come into play, and everything is boding well for Lewisdale the way he's played down the stretch. That'll translate into this tournament matchup.
I mean, he had injury problems for the bulk of last season, and even into the NCAA tournament, it was questionable whether he was 100% healthy. Going back to his sophomore year, I mean, that was his first year on any type of big stage. So maybe this is the year that he's able to.
Yeah, it's
get the whole
interesting.
thing
He was
done.
injured earlier on in this year and had to miss a couple games, missed the game at LaSalle for the Big Red, which they were able to pull out anyway because Ryan Whitman just had a phenomenal night. But
career high that night.
He did have a career high that night, and it's just clear that since then he's come back and he's at full health, especially the way he played in the last regular season Ivy League weekend. He's back at 100%, and now that he's healthy and has a chance to play in the tournament, completely healthy with that experience, you got to expect big things from Big.
And just another thing about this matchup, and you look at Cornell's tournament experience, talking with Coach Donahue before Selection Sunday, he said 2 years ago there was a young, inexperienced team that maybe wasn't that big physically. The worst matchup he could have gotten was a big, physical interior team, and they probably got the biggest in Stanford.
The Lopez ones.
Last year, it was a team that had some injury problems. It wasn't that deep. He said the worst thing they could have gotten was an athletic team that's going to run you. They probably got the most athletic team in the tournament. And then this year, he said with this group of players, everything they went through, he is comfortable playing any team in the country on a neutral floor. Yes, he's got a good team. He's playing a very good team in Temple. It's going to be a challenge, but on a neutral court, any team in the country, Temple falls into that category. And you know what? It's really going to be a dogfight out there. And I don't want to say whoever wants it more is going to win, because I really think it's going to come down to pure execution, but it's going to be one heck of a game.
Yeah, definitely. Without a doubt. Well, three consecutive years in the NCAA tournament, a lot of seniors on this team. Tomorrow's game, the game Friday in Jacksonville, the number 5 seeded Temple Owls playing the number 12 seeded Cornell Big Red, is the culmination of 3 years of very hard work.
It is.
And we
4 years of very hard work.
4 years of very hard work.
Don't discount that first year.
Absolutely. For these seniors, this is their chance. This is their chance, and it is going to be huge. So obviously, with Slope Media, we're going to be covering the tournament all weekend. You can follow us on Twitter. Stay tuned for a lot of other video updates. But for now, this has been the SlopeTV pregame for the game tomorrow between the number 5 seeded Temple Owls, number 12 seeded Big Red. With Sam and Jake, I'm Ryan Engler. Thanks for watching, guys.